And let's talk about DeAndre Swift, who you mentioned a little bit earlier, and, his potential landing spot. But this is a player who came out of Georgia. He was buried beneath Chubb and Sony Michel. My gosh, Georgia's just churning out these quality backs year after year. So, of course, we have high expectations for Swift. What's something about his, tenure at Georgia that stood out for you before we talk about an actual trait?
Yeah, statistically it was good, right? Obviously a little bit underwhelming for the factors that you just stated. What I always have burned into my head are those spin moves he makes, but it's not somebody that you're going to hand the ball. He never had a 200 carry season, right? He was more of a specialist than a big play specialist, but I love the fact that he could run inside zone, outside zone. I love the fact that he could catch the ball very naturally. He just looked like a diverse guy. Diverse was the word that I used. That I would have loved to see him, do the full set of tests. He didn't do the 3-cone just to see what that quickness would have been like in a numerical way. But yeah, he to me looks like a great complementary back. I don't think he'll ever be a bell cow, but I do think he's gonna be a very good playmaker if you have that perfect complement to him, kind of like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it is interesting because for some people, his 513 touches compared to Dobbins' 796 and Taylor's 968 is a plus because obviously then he has, quote, fresher legs and more ability. But if he isn't it's interesting too that the other side of that is, well, that's because he isn't a full workhorse back. So while he does have 3-down ability, he's never going to carry a full load. Maybe that's better for him in the long run in terms of longevity at the NFL level and what he can be paid, as the position is definitely in a place of evolution right now.
Yep.
But let's talk about so did you say diverse was the one word that came to mind?
Yeah, and I hope he's used that way too. I hope he's used in a way where he's not asked. I think he only had 3 20 carry games in college. And to me, that was fine. I had no issue with that because I think there is a law of diminishing returns that kicks in with him, where the more he gets the ball, the less effective he is, the less juice he has, and the more injuries they piled up. He had that shoulder at the end of the year that really bothered him. He had a groin injury, a toe injury. I think there was an ankle that bothered him for a while. So part of the fact of why he wasn't used was because he was banged up, right? So, again, there's this scary factor about him where the health was never a major concern, but it clearly held him back. But if you keep him to that diverse role, he could be special.
The word that stood out to me, while he has excellent hands, it's his feet that were the most eye-popping to me. And when I say that, you talk about running backs and their feet and footwork, there is nuance and tempo to the way that he runs that just feels natural. He knows when to speed up. He knows when to slow down. He has incredible vision and fantastic balance. Like all 3 of these guys have incredible balance. But I love that he just has this, I'm going to admit Bucky Brooks used this phrase back before I watched much of Swift. I think near the Senior Bowl, he had that pitter patter. And I can't stop thinking that was perfect. Just this little pitter patter about the way he runs, and I like a lot of what he does. I think he's in some ways a very safe, explosive back, especially if you're not asking him to do the things that you're asking Taylor or Dobbins to do.
Yeah, and something that came up. I remember watching. I think it was the Florida game. Watching him make people miss and put moves on without slowing down, without gearing down, without you mentioned the tempo changes too, where he could hesitate and do things like that. He's got that too. So, if I could even expand my word diverse and say he's got even a diverse running style. He can run with power. He can run with quickness. He can run with edge speed too. So it's really fun to see him adjust to what the defense is throwing at him, what the play call is. He's got special ability. There's no question about it.
And he, while he is not, again, like the short yardage guy that the other 2 may be, he does have enough power to also go up the middle. This isn't a guy who's always bouncing it outside, right? He does have the moxie and determination to squeeze through tackles. So I like that he's diverse. to use your word again, in that way as well. He's not just, like a LaShawn McCoy early career. LaShawn McCoy is bouncing everything outside all the time. Yep. Who's your comp for him?
My comp is DeAngelo Williams. I'm going again, showing my age, right? But sort of a shorter, got a little bit of thickness to him, that good shifty ability that you want to see. Had that one incredible year where I think he scored like 18 touchdowns, but also was one of those guys who, would be the second leading rusher in the NFL through 7 weeks of the season, and then a hamstring injury would come up, or I think Swift is actually a tougher player than DeAngelo Williams was, but to DeAngelo's credit, he had a roll into his 30s with the Steelers there for a while. So he's got that ability where, maybe he's always going to be an outstanding complementary back, and maybe only a true feature guy for a couple of years, but he's somebody that I thought of that sort of came to mind. And I don't know. I mean, DeAngelo could run with toughness. Maybe Swift's just a little bit tougher. And I think your comp maybe plays to that just a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm going with Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, I like that.
I wrote down in my notes Bob and weave and speed, and that are the three things that you see Cook do, but you also see Cook struggle with his pad level, which is something I think Swift needs to work on. We talk about his injuries. I mean, he's got to lower the shoulder a little bit more. Cook has struggled with durability issues, I think in part because of his running style. While it is electric and it is exciting, it does invite injury. And so that makes me worried a bit. And I do think Swift, he's a wonderful last name because he is Swift. But he is more quick than fast. And I think that when you look at all of those things, you've got a lot of Dalvin Cook, but I also don't know if Dalvin Cook, it'll be interesting to see what Minnesota does in this, run first approach that they are very obvious and very loud about wanting to establish because, Swift. Cook is not the guy who can do all of the things, and I don't think Swift is either.
I'm just trying to think, if Swift is one of the best running back last names, what would the worst be? Like Clunker or something? Or like,
I mean, Snell is pretty bad.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. I mean, I'm sorry, Benny. I hate to say it. I think you're right. I didn't mean to derail the whole conversation there. It just came to my mind,